Today, I will discuss about the most important topic of the environmental studies. This is the nuclear accident. Nuclear accident causes too much losses, and the prevention of the nuclear accidents are necessary. Here, we will discuss today top 5 nuclear accidents. Serious nuclear accidents have been taken place in the world, and their story are shown here, and prevention of the future nuclear accidents are necessary. Daiichi Fukushima, Japan, March 2011, nuclear accident. The reason of this nuclear accident was earthquake and tsunami. Earthquake and tsunami was the only reason which make the nuclear accident that struck between the eastern Japan on March 11, 2001, caused a severe accident at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant on the northern eastern coast of the Japan. Northeastern coast of the Japan, which is shown here in the figure. How did it happen? The earthquake cut off external power to the reactor. Tsunami, which reached level more than twice as high as the plant was designed to withstand. Tsunami causes a more force, double the force, and the plant was not so designed to withstand such a forces, and crippling the reactor cooling system. Battery power has quickly exhausted, and overheating fuel in the plant's operating reactor core led to the hydrogen explosion that severely damaged 3 of the reactor buildings. Fuel in the 3 of the reactor cores melted, and radiation releases from the damaged reactors contaminated a wide area surrounding the plant and forced the evacuation of nearly 500,000 residents. The Fukushima Daiichi nuclear accident in Japan in 2011 resulted in number of losses, including the deaths. While there were no direct deaths from the radiation sickness, over 2,000 people died as a result of the disaster. In addition, the earthquake and tsunami that preceded the nuclear accident killed around 19,500 people. Evacuation. Around 1 lakh people were evacuated from their homes as a precaution. Many people were delayed from the returning home due to government nervousness. The total cost of the losses have been given here due to the disaster, estimating at the 21.5 trillion yen, that equivalent to the 187 billion US dollar in 2016. This is the too much amount of the losses due to this nuclear accident. Another nuclear accident was the Chernobyl, Ukraine, former Soviet Union, April 26, 1986. Chernobyl is considered the world's most nuclear disaster to date. It occurred on April 26, 1996, when a sudden surge in the power during a reactor system test resulted in an explosion and fire that destroyed the Unit 4. Massive amounts of the radiation escaped and spread across the Western Soviet Union and Europe. As a result of the disaster, approximately 220,000 people had to be relocated from their homes. This is shown in the figure about the Chernobyl disaster in the 1986. How the Chernobyl disaster happened? The Unit 4 was to be shut down from the routine maintenance. A test was conducted to determine the plant equipment's ability to provide the sufficient electrical power to operate the reactor core cooling system and the emergency equipment during the transition period between a loss of the main station electrical power supply and the start up the emergency power supply. Workers did not implement the adequate safety precautions. This is the main reason for the accident. Workers did not implement the adequate safety precaution or alert operators to electrical test risk. Consequently, a sudden power surge resulted in the explosion and nearly complete destruction of the reactor. The fires that broke out in the building contributed to the extensive radioactive release. The Chernobyl disaster was a nuclear power plant accident that occurred in the April 26, 1996 in the former Soviet Union. What happened? The accident began with a routine meltdown, routine shutdown, but a surge created a chemical explosion that released nearly 520 dangerous radionuclides into the atmosphere. Radiation deaths. 28 workers died in the first 4 months. Acute radiation sickness. 106 workers received high doses. Thyroid cancer. 6,000 children have been detected with the thyroid cancer. These are the losses due to the Chernobyl disaster of the nuclear power plant. What was the causes for the Chernobyl disaster? A flawed reactor design. Reactor design was not good. Inadequately trained personnel was there at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. An inadequate safety culture at all marginal and operational levels were there. Next nuclear accident was the 3 miles inland Middletown, Peninsula, USA, March 28, 1979. The partial meltdown at the 3 miles inland Unit 2 is considered the most serious nuclear accident in the US history, although it resulted in only small radioactive releases. On March 28, 1979, 3 miles inland nuclear accident have been taken place. How did it happen? The accident began with failure in the non-nuclear secondary system, followed by a human-operated relief valve in the primary system that stuck open, which allowed large amounts of the nuclear reactor coolant to escape. Plant operators' initial failure to correctly identify the problem compounded it. In particular, a hidden indicator light had to an operator manually overriding the automatic emergency cooling system because they mystically believed that too much coolant water in the reactor had caused the steam pressure release. Eventually, the reactor was brought under the control, although the full extent of the accident was not understood until later. The 3 miles inland nuclear accident in Middletown, Peninsula in 1978 caused a huge amount of the property damage. An estimated amount of the property damage was 2.4 billion in the property damage. The cleanup and documentation of the site, including the removing radioactive fuel and radioactive breakage. The accident occurred on March 28, 1979, when a cooling malfunction caused part of the core of the melt in the reactor 2. No injury or death. There were no injury, deaths, or direct health effect on the public or the plant workers. A small radioactive release. The release was small and had no detectable health effect. Equipment failure. A stuck open relief valve and other equipment malfunction prevented the removal of the heat from the reactor's core. Another nuclear accident was Enrico Fermi Unit 1, French Town Charter, Township, McKeven, USA, October 5, 1966. Coolant flow blockage in the two fuel channels led to the partial meltdown of the tube fuel assembly at the Fermi Unit 1. The figure is shown here. How did it happen? At the Fermi Unit 1, nuclear accident. It was the nation's first and only commercial operating liquid metal fast breeder reactor. Vibration caused a component within the reactor vessel to loosen due to the vibration curve, which blocked coolant flow when the hydrodynamic force is carried up in the fuel submersible inlet zones. Workers did not notice what happened occurred until core temperature alarms sounded. Several fuel rod subassembly reached temperatures of the at 70 degrees Fahrenheit, causing them to melt. After the reactor was shut down for the repair, it was returned to partial operation periodically until 1972, but it was never again fully operational. It was officially decommissioned in 1975. 1966 partial breakdown at the Enrico Fermi Unit 1 nuclear power plant in the Frenchtown Township, McKeven, resulted in no injury or the hazards. What happened? A zirconium plate broke loose inside the reactor vessel, blocking sodium coolant from the reaching some fuel. Duration about 20 minutes. Yet 40 pounds of the nuclear fuel melted. The plant was shut down for the 4 years. So the plant was immediately shut down for the 4 years due to the nuclear accident. SL1 Adio Hall, USA, January 3, 1961. The withdrawal of a single control rod caused a catastrophic power surge and steam explosion at the SL1 boiling water reactor that killed all the workers on the duty at the time. The figure of the 3 technicians, engineers have been shown, and the figure have been shown here. How did it happen? On January 3, 1961, workers were in the process of detaching to their drive mechanism control rods they had disconnected earlier that do the enable test equipment to be inserted in the reactor core. They lifted the central core control rod 20 inches instead of the 4 inches that was required. The error caused the reactor to go critical and its power to surge 6,000 times higher than its normal level in the less than a second. As a result, nuclear fuel vaporized and a steam bubble was created. The steam bubble expanded so quickly that it pushed water above it against the reactor vessel, which caused it to jump out to the support structure. In the process, all of the water and some of the fuel was released from the reactor vessel. All 3 workers on the duty received lethal dosage of radiation in addition to the trauma from the explosion. The SL1 nuclear reactor accident in Idaho Falls, Idaho in the January 1961 resulted in the deaths of the 3 engineering technicians. The 3 technicians are named here. Richard Lero McKinley, a 27-year-old Army specialist who was found unconscious and in shock but died from his wounds. John A. Barnes, a 20-year-old reactor operator who died instantly. Richard C. Lake, a 26-year-old Navy civil construction electrician first class who died instantly. The accident occurred when a technician lifted the central control rod too quickly during a maintenance procedure, causing the reactor to go supercritical in just 4 milliseconds. Next nuclear accident is the sodium reactor experiment, Los Angeles, California, USA, July 59. A partial meltdown occurred at the sodium reactor experiment due to the cooling flow blockage that caused the reactor core to the overheat. This is the sodium reactor experiment. How did it happen? The sodium reactor experiment experienced extensive fuel damage during a power run. 13 of the 43 fuel elements overheated when the cooling flow provided by the liquid sodium was blocked by the tetraline, an oil-like fluid which had leaked into the primary sodium loop during the prior power runs. This overheating caused the reactor core to fail. Fission products were released from the damaged fuel into the primary sodium loop. Some of the fission products leaked from the primary sodium loop into the high bay area, a region inside the building housing the reactor. Other fission products flow with the helium over gas over the liquid sodium in the reactor pool to gaseous storage tanks. The sodium reactor experiment accident in July 1959 at the Santa Susana Field Laboratory in Los Angeles, California resulted in the following losses. Fuel damage. 13 of the 43 reactor fuel assembly partially melted. Radioactive release. 28 cores of the radioactive noble gases were released. The release was up to the 459 times greater than the amount of radiation released during the 979 3 miles island meltdown. Contamination. The primary reactor cooling system and some of the facilities interiors room were contaminated. The accident occurred when the tetraline and oil-like fluid leaked into the primary sodium coolant. This blocked the cooling flow, causing the reactor core to the overheat. This is about the nuclear accidents. Thanks to watching for the video.